Hi, my name is Matt Carroll with World Class Coaching, and today with the help of Academy Sports Coach 2024, I want to talk to you about a session that I designed that discusses breaking lines for players. So what I've started with here is just kind of like, I would say this is more for a younger group, definitely maybe even like a lighter session for some of your older groups. But I institute a lot of fun games, I think, to start off, maybe more like an intermediate. So maybe between your 11 to 13-year-old, maybe up to 14-year-old kind of session. I think you can modify it for younger groups and modify it for older groups, but that's kind of where I kind of envision this session going. Because it's kind of there's fun, there's interactive stuff, but there is the technical aspects, but there's also a lot of challenges within it. So I use this game all the time. I really enjoy it for like when I'm doing a rec camp, when I'm just doing some light for my players, just kind of as like a fun activation. Or even in this drill, just to kind of talk about passing the technique and things like that and vision. So I call it lasers, and each person has a ball. You get a point for playing a pass that hits someone else's ball. And if you hit the person, you lose a point. So you're just constantly kind of keeping your score +1, -1, +1, -1. I like this one I talk about shielding the ball, defending the ball, because you're making sure that, you have a foot between the ball and the person, and it kind of gives them that visual effort of, okay, hey, I don't want, to expose too much of the ball. But in this regard, what we're looking for is accurate passing, vision, and playing within tight spaces. I mean, hitting another ball, it's a pretty tight pass to a moving target generally. So you're attacking situations, you're finding ways you can. And when we're talking about breaking lines, obviously we're talking about passing break lines. We'll talk also about dribbling to break lines. But with passing, we want to have those those line breaking, tight angle passes, and this is going to work on that. So, so if they miss the pass, right, ball goes over here. That allows for another player over here to then go after their ball. So there's kind of like natural consequences if you miss, but it's not like knockout where you're out and then it's a sit out. You miss, and there's a natural consequence of like, oh, now you lose a point because someone's going after your ball, and you have to work harder to get the ball back. So it's not so much, you're sitting out, but you're constantly, recognizing the, being punished for the actions, the passes you miss, and you're being rewarded for the passes that you do make pretty consistently throughout. So that's just kind of a fun little warm up. Maybe you do your they walk in, start doing that one, and then you do some of your activation stuff. And then I have a pattern here that I would move into. Very simple, lots of lines. I mean, not that you should have lots of lines, but you should have lots of these set up so there isn't long lines. But you do want them to take a little bit of breaks. You want to have like 4 or 5 players here. You don't, because you just do this with 3 players, it's going to be a little too hectic. Really simple. Just working on a pass here. Pass back. Third pass comes back. And then immediately this player then drives. And what I want to talk about here is driving, go down, driving the ball away from your body into space, but under control. So this first one, they're dribbling, and they're just driving to the end of the line. All right. So the way then you can modify that one is creating gates with a visual cue. So you're saying maybe the coach is behind it, or the next player's up, and they hold up a cone and it's yellow. So that player's picking their head up. They're seeing where the space is, and they're driving in to break the line. You might even want to put a dummy here to kind of demonstrate that. And they're driving, pass back. They receive a pass. They read the cue, and they're driving to break a line with the dribble. So now we've worked on visualizations of breaking lines through passing. We worked on it through breaking line through dribbling. So we kind of used those two to activate and discuss our technical aspects of breaking lines. So another really great drill I use all the time is, I think I need 4 of these. Just call it the line breaking drill. Usually work on this one for defensive cohesion, but also for creative passing. So we'll have 4 players over here. They're the attacking players. Oops, don't need him. 4 players on the other side. And 3 defenders, or 4 defenders in here. And you can keep score with how many times the line's broken is, how many points. It's like lowest score wins, like golf. So if this team only lets up 3 to break their line, and the other team lets up 4, they win. But what you have here is the players in yellow can't leave this grid, and you want to make it pretty tight, and you definitely want to make it a little even tighter here between these guys so they can't just go all the way back. So maybe like a low cone here. You can't go past this yellow cone. So you're keeping it pretty tight lines. And the defensive team is then trying to make sure that you can't break lines. So pressure's here, covers here, maybe a little tighter so they can't go down the line. All right. And the defense is shifting. So we're working on moving the ball to hopefully quickly break lines. So we're not just looking like, okay, here's the line, we're going to break it. We're looking to create movement in the defense and create angles that will help us break lines. So here you can talk about ball movement, all right, lateral ball movement forward and backwards. If you just go straight, horizontal, a lot of times they'll be very easy to defend. But what happens a lot of times is they drive to, a lot of times when it's successful is this player drives here, the pass goes back and then forward. And that means the defense, there's more depth to it. The defense needs to check up and they're moving not just horizontally, but vertically. And it creates more gaps in the back line, which makes the line easier to break. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about off the ball movement. How are you positioning yourself to receive this pass? You know, if you're standing maybe here, the defender can get to you. If you're standing here, it gives the angle that the attack player can break that line. And we're just looking to consistently talk about breaking lines. And as a coach here, I'm stopping and saying, hey, here's how this one worked. Here's why this line breaking scenario worked. You know, if I just keep trying to go forward, they're going to block passes. And what I usually do is if they block a pass, I have a pile of balls or I use one ball and the defender's like, get a clear and you got to run and get your ball. So it forces them to be like, hey, if I don't make a good line breaking pass, it's going to slow up my time and I'm not going to be able to score as many points. So I really have to, move the ball and I'm not just going to go forward. And also teaching them to be patient when breaking lines. And that when we have the opportunity to break line, we have to go fast. We have to go quickly. But if we just go forward to go forward's sake and there's no line, you don't have the angle to break the line, then it's pretty useless and we're just going to kind of lose the ball and it's going to lead to negative effects. So you're teaching that concept within it. Here I'm going to make it a little more 360. I'm going to set up a grid here. And in each grid, I'm going to have 2 defenders and 2 attackers plus 1 neutral. So leave black here. Go here. Balls in here, and we'll have a neutral player here. So you can't have. So the neutral comes in. You're creating systems of 3v2s. Okay. So if black's on the ball, what they're looking to do is create 5 passes. Okay. So they're constantly kind of working in this rondo and within the rondo, breaking lines here. After they're creating 5 passes, they're trying to break the line here and play to the next grid. So this player's here. They play their 5 passes. Ball's over here. The player plays over here to this grid. And we've got red comes over here. We're in a 3v2 over here. Now to make it a little more complicated, we can have multiple balls. So we have 2 balls in. So you're taking out 2 grids are playing, 2 grids are off. And in doing so, what that makes it is you can't just play the ball to any grid. There's not 3 options. There's really only one other option that you can play to, and you have to make sure the other grid's not playing to them. So it creates a little bit more of a visual challenge, and you're picking your head up and seeing where the lines are that are break. It's very congested, a lot of action going on. So it's kind of a weighted bat. I like to call it weighted bat drill. I like to call it where now if we take this off and we play the real game, what you'll see is there's a lot more time and space, and the lines should be much more obvious, and the movement. You'll have much more time for the lateral and horizontal movement, and hopefully, in doing it, being able to play in these tight spaces. When you take a lot of the pressure off, it should be a little bit easier to play in these systems and utilize the concepts that we've been working on throughout the session. And from here, I would go into a small scrimmage. Maybe create early on a point value for every broken line. If you break 3 lines during the goal, you get 4 points, 3 for the lines and 1 for the goal. Or you can create like a system where you get points for a pass. If a pass breaks 2 lines, you get this many points. If it breaks 1 line, you get 1 point. Get creative with the number system, and then again, I always like to end just with no restrictions. Let's play the game naturally and see how these concepts just naturally progress. You can see these players like the drill looks great, horizontal movement, moving the ball, playing back to open up space, and then we play the game and it's just forward. And you're like, wow, they got the drill, but did they get the concept? And that's really why I like to end with that and have that assessment of myself. Did they get the concepts? Did I get it across? So So love to hear about some of the line breaking drills you do in your sessions and some of the concepts that you utilize. So you can definitely leave that in the comments section. And one more time, my name is Matt Carroll with World Class Coaching and the Help of Academy Sports Coach 2024. I hope this session finds you well.